Buddy. It is Thursday, February the 10th. Welcome to another episode of the Rantings of Danny. Tonight's broadcast will be a healthcare broadcast. It will be kind of centered around Ballad Health specifically, and a lot of the other things with regard to them that you may or may not know. So we're going to talk about those things tonight. I'm going to give it a second for folks to get on in here. Make sure that you speak when you come in the room. There are some things that I think are going to be of interest to you if you have followed what has happened. If you have followed what has happened with Ballad Health and with the healthcare in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, then you are going to be, maybe not surprised by some of the things that I share with you today. But it is an addition to, it is a build onto, it is an extra piece. Hey, Kathy, to what I reported on last Thursday. Hey, Teresa. So if you'll give me a second, because I need to share this to my personal page, right? So let me get that done, and then we will be ready to rock and roll. So give me one sec. And then we'll get this thing popping. Hey, Teresa, how are you, love? How's Rod doing? Everything went okay today with his procedure, I hope. Hopefully that is the case. Let's see. Let me see. All right, I've got this all shared. We are ready to go. So we're going to dive right in, though. Hey, Renee, how are you? How are you? So I needed to take a second to get everything shared on my end. As you all know, if you are not already following me, you can do that here on Facebook at The Danny Cook. On YouTube is YouTube/Danny Cook. Hey, what's up, Melanie? On Twitter, it is Real Danny Cook. On IG, it is also The Danny Cook. And I think that pretty much covers the bases. If you are not following the Facebook page for the Rantings of Danny, please make sure that you do that. The streaming software that I'm using, it will not let me see comments if the video is broadcast from my personal page. So I need for you guys to make sure that you are following the Rantings of Danny page in order to be able to see, so I can see your comments and all of that. That's why I have to share it to my personal page. Glad he's getting rest and everything went okay. So I'm going to dive right in and kind of bring you guys up to speed. If you can remember, I'm going to recap a little bit of last Thursday broadcast because this one kind of builds upon that. And if you remember last Thursday, we were taking a look at, so remember that Ballad Health's fiscal years start in the year prior. So for example, their fiscal year 2020 starts from July of 2019. And it goes until the end of June 2020. Okay. So what we're going to be taking a look at, and what's interesting about this time period is this is when myself and many of the people that are watching this broadcast were heavily involved in the peaceful protest against this state-created, state-blessed medical monopoly that was created. For those of you guys who don't know, I mean, Ballad Health was not something that originally was supposed to be legal to have happen, right? There were a lot of antitrust issues. A lot of things just weren't meant to take place. And without certain players in this game, this would not have taken place, right? Without a Tennessee state senator who had been a, contracted vendor and still is for Mountain States Health Alliance, now Ballad Health, legislation would not have been changed, would not have been rewritten in order to allow these two health systems to completely merge and to absolve them of any antitrust violations on a state level, right? Without that same senator, legislation would not have been introduced and passed that kept much of the information regarding Ballad Health proprietary and away from the public, which is crazy because their complete and total existence is supposed to be for public advantage. It is supposed to be set up so that if the disadvantages of having a medical monopoly, where in a geographic region the size of New Jersey, every hospital is owned by one healthcare system, if at some point in time that turns out to have more negatives than positives for the people, well, then the people are supposed to be able to rely on the Tennessee Department of Health or the Virginia Department of Health to end this monopoly that they created. But when you pass legislation, hey Jackie, when you pass legislation that deems a lot of this information about this public healthcare system and the things that they're doing private or proprietary, and you make it so that citizens have to pay money in order to challenge these laws for this private healthcare system, it makes it really, really difficult to know exactly what is going on. So then we just have to take a look at what we can find that is publicly available. We have to ask as many questions as we can. We can FOIA as much information as they will give us, and then just see where that takes us. And so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. What's up, Elmini? So if you remember last week, I started looking at specifically that year of 2019 into 2020 when we were outside of Holston Valley Medical Center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, peacefully protesting to save access to safe, reliable healthcare. And here's what happened when Ballad Health said, hey, we want to close the Holston Valley Medical Center NICU, which at the time they said downgrade it, right? But no, it's a closure. There's nothing in that facility now. It was a state-of-the-art, brand new NICU facility that was what? 2, maybe 3 years old at the time. Millions of dollars had been spent. It had state-of-the-art equipment. It had phenomenal staff. I should know. My grandbaby was born there. And spent 91 days in that NICU, and it is now completely shuttered up, right? They used it, I think, to give out some vaccinations for people to walk through and do that. But other than that, they literally, there is no you give birth at Holston Valley anymore. No, that whole, we're going to keep the labor and delivery department, that was BS too, right? So now you give birth at Indian Path if you are in Kingsport, not at Holston Valley. So what we knew in terms of Holston Valley Medical Center no longer exists. And if you remember, when the state of Tennessee said to Ballad Health, okay, so listen, when you do this, well, they asked lots of different questions, but one of them was, by taking away the NICU at Holston Valley Medical Center, how much money are you going to save every year, right? How much money are you going to save? And what Alan Levine sent back to the state of Tennessee at the time was this response. And he says, hey, if we're just going to keep labor and delivery there, it's going to keep us about, we're going to spend about $456,840 to set up telemedicine and things like that, which I will just say this. I have been told by multiple sources that the telemedicine at Indian Path, remember how I first reported in September of 2019 that equipment did not always work? It still does not always work. If you remember, there was an instance where FaceTime had to be used by a nurse in order to contact the neonatologist at Johnson City Medical Center at Niswonger in the NICU there. That still happens sometimes. So here we are in 2022, right? 2.5 years after they've closed Holston Valley Medical Center's NICU, and things still aren't functioning. I don't know where they spent this $456,000 at, but it ain't for functioning telemedicine equipment, but I digress. The biggest part of this is, if you look, he says the cost savings on an annual basis, right, would be $1,043,160. That is what Ballad Health claimed that they were going to save, quote unquote, right, by closing down the Holston Valley NICU. So remember, I talked about this last Thursday. And remember, I asked the question, well, did they really save $1 million? Or did they simply divert those funds into bonuses for their top executives? And I showed you their Form 990 from the IRS. And you can see in that same year, let me back it up just a little bit so that you can see. This is from 2019. It's their 990 for 2020, which covers, let me be clear, it covers from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. Okay. And the NICU closed September 1st, 2019. Okay. So if you look, Alan Levine, the president and CEO of Ballad Health, received a bonus and incentive of $805,887. I'm going to ask for your help and your participation for me. Can somebody get out a calculator and help me add these up? Just double check my facts and figures. And we're going to spend a minute here because then I'm going to show you some other places where money was spent that I discovered today. And we're going to look at these two things combined and take a look at maybe where some money that was supposed to be saved, where it actually got spent. Here's a hint: it wasn't on staff and babies. Here's a hint. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to add up 805,887. Okay, that's Alan's bonus. Tony Keck's bonus was $228,079. Okay, just the two of them is $1,033,966. I want you to look. $1,043,160. So between Alan and Tony, they pretty much used money for themselves that could have been used to keep a NICU open for an entire year. That money went to them. I'm not saying it's the exact same money, but I'm just saying during the same time period, maybe this money was diverted and went to them and their, consolidations and efficiencies and all these innovative ways that they have determined to provide care for folks. But let's keep going. I want to add Bart Hove on here, which is so interesting to me because Bart Hove had other reportable compensation. If you look at this third column over, of $967,590, even though Bart Hove has not worked for Ballad Health since January 31st, 2018. But his bonus, which is all I'm focusing on tonight, is $12,563. Clay Runnels. Okay, so Clay's bonus for that time period was $122,757. Okay. Eric Deaton was $235,353. Okay. Lisa Smithgall was $150,386. We've now surpassed $1.5 million. Okay. Let's keep going though. Lynn Krutak was $304,398. And Marvin Eichhorn is $346,798. That's now $2.2 million. And let's keep going. Hold on. So Melissa Carr received $134,000. Whoops, not $134, but $134,028. Monty McLaren received $137,469. Pam Austin received $100,525. Shanna Tate received $123,339. And who is that? Shane Hilton received $157,650. And we're going to, I need to come back and finish this last part off right here. So if I look at Steve Kilgore, got $186,725. 186,725. That put us over 3 million in and of itself. And then let's add Tim Belisle, who you all know is the attorney. So Tim Belisle got $250,000. Damn, $250,000 was his bonus. He made more than Tony Keck, right? So that's 3.3 roughly. Let me just pull this off of here now. This is $3.3 million that Ballad Health gave their top executives for the time period of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. So 3.3 million. Can I round up? Is it okay? Will y'all consider this to be factually correct if I round up to approximately $3.3 million? Y'all gonna be okay with that? So then I started looking. So do you all remember that last week I was looking at their PAC, and I was looking at the Friends of Mountain States PAC, and I was looking at Mission Properties donation. I was also looking at how some of their executives and doctors always seem to donate to specific campaigns and specific politicians, almost like within days of each other. sometimes on the same day or the very next day, but within a couple of weeks. And it happens every year, almost to the point where it just seems like it cannot be coincidental. Well, how many of you all remember me talking about Ballad Health having lobbyists? Do you all remember that Ballad Health pays for lobbyists? And I always kind of wondered, okay, so if you're a medical monopoly, you own every hospital in the region, right? Um, like 99%, if not all of the inpatient care is yours. What are you lobbying for? What are you having to lobby for that everyone else isn't already lobbying for? Right? Am I making sense? Does anybody else have the same questions that I have? Well, I wanted to take a look at, well, what does Ballad Health spend for lobbying? And what did they spend the same year that Lisa Carter said, if y'all remember, that it was a no-brainer to close the NICU? Do y'all remember that? Give me a second. Give me a sec, because I want to give y'all the, it was Lisa Carter that said it. She said it was a no-brainer to close the NICU. Here we go. Ha ha ha. I knew I'd find it. It's from the Modern Healthcare article. That, remember when we got Tara Ben out to come down, guys? And basically she said it was a no-brainer. So give me a second. I'm going to give you the link to this, okay? So hold on, because I think that this matters. You all might say, oh, well, Danny, does it really matter? It does matter. Hold on. Ooh, are y'all with me? Y'all are awful quiet. It's pulling it up. Ooh, boy, that's a big old long article. It won't let me. I'm going to give y'all this link. If it doesn't work for you, I'll give you another one. You're listening while you do your nails. Okay, cool. So this is a press reader, but I was looking for like the original article, and I'll find you the original link in a minute. Okay. All right. So I want to continue. So remember, all right, Susie, great. Okay, so I wanted to take a look, because if it was such a no-brainer, and this was like all about like consolidation and these merger synergies that they promised the SEC when they refinanced those bonds. Y'all remember when they did that, right? And I wanted to see, okay, well, what else are they spending money on? Like, if they gave their executives $3.3 million, which, let me just say this. This is a personal note. How do you, I don't understand how you are a doctor or a healthcare executive and you take an $800,000 bonus, or you take $250,000 bonus, or $100,000 bonus, right? When you know that nurses aren't being paid appropriately. I can tell you this. I spoke with a nurse last week. Was it last week? I'm lying. I spoke to a nurse this past week. And this nurse that I spoke with came to Ballad Health from a very accomplished medical facility, and came to Ballad Health with between 7 and 10 years experience, okay, at a top-notch facility. This nurse was told that they could not have $30 an hour. They couldn't have $28 an hour. They couldn't have $25 an hour. Less than that. An experienced nurse coming from a top-notch facility told they're not worth $25 an hour. They were laughed at and said, no, we will not pay you that much. Come here, baby. What is it? Yeah, you can eat that one. Yeah. So, yeah, babe. So I wanted to look at, well, what are they spending money on? So here's what I found to be very interesting. On that same Form 990, guys, for that same time period, can I show you what Ballad Health told the IRS they spent on lobbying? Do y'all want to know? Here's what I want you to do. Put a guess. I want you to put a guesstimate in the comments. How much do you think in 2019, from July 1st of 2019 to June 30th of 2020, how much do you think Ballad Health told them they spent on lobbying? How much do you think it was? Let me see your best guesses. Show me what you got. By the way, I'm going to plug my daughter. My daughter's, look, I love my cup. This is my little mindful mama cup. What's up, Amanda Bacon? And so anyway, I love this cup. It reminds me to keep my woo going. Sue Godby says 2 million. Amanda Bacon says 250,000. Tracy Rutherford says 50K. Tammy Anderson says, wow, team leads at Walmart make $22 an hour. $22 an hour more for higher up supervisors. Nurses should make a lot more than them. I agree. But this nurse was told no. Teresa says 1 million plus. Rachel says 1 million. All right, so let me just show you guys. Y'all ready? So Ballad Health reported, if you look now, so at the very top, this is the Form 990 for 2019. Remember, this is from July 2019 to the end of June 2020. For, if you look at IG, direct contact with legislators, their staffs, government officials, or legislative body, they said, yes, we did that. And they spent $664,222. So almost $750,000. In that first year that they closed the Holston Valley Medical Center NICU, not only did they give their staff executives, their executive staff, $3.3 million in bonuses, their lobbying efforts with direct contact to their legislators, staff, government officials, or legislative body, they spent $664,222. And then they gave $57,576 to another organization to legislators to lobby as well. But now, do you want me to really freak you out? So in the state of Tennessee, there are, whoops, don't let me knock that over. In the state of Tennessee, there are 143 legislators between the state and the federal levels, okay? Between the state and federal levels, there's 143 legislators. So that dollar amount right there means that they spent more than $4,644 per legislator. Like, if we wanted to just give you an example of what that looks like, they're spending almost $5,000 for every legislator representing the state of Tennessee. And they're a monopoly. When you look at the lobbying, so this is what I really wanted to show you guys. So when I get into this, right, Teresa, and Alan made more than that in a bonus alone. But here's where it gets interesting. And I have sent this information off I did notice that, Stephanie. I did notice that. She said, did I notice that the last time I talked about their CEO bonuses, the very next day they gave tiny bonuses to employees? I did notice that. And I'll share with you what I shared last Thursday about that bonus. So they gave their employees $1,250. Okay, $1,250 broken up into two payments. Now, here's what's interesting about that. So if you take, I want y'all to follow the math. If you take $1,250, now remember, let's just say an average of 40 hours a week, right? 40 hours a week times 52 weeks in a year, that's 2,080 hours that you would be working, right? So if I divide 2,080, right, and that 1,250, that is roughly, oops, hold on. I type too fast sometimes and I don't give myself enough time to get it done. So that's roughly 60 cents an hour for every single one of those. Now, keep in mind that the rate of inflation has been about 6.5%, 6.5 to 7.5% over the last year. So if you make $10 an hour, that $1,250 bonus maybe kept you up with inflation. But if you're a nurse who makes twice that and should be making triple times that, you didn't even keep up with inflation. That little piddly ass bonus they threw out. $1,250. But Alan got 800,000. So I want to keep talking about this for a second because they spent $664,222 on direct contact with legislators, their staff, government officials, or legislative body. Now, let me just tell y'all this. I don't know if you know this or not, but you cannot FOIA members of Congress. They are exempt from FOIA. Did y'all know that? So your United States, senators and House of Representatives, they are exempt from FOIA requests. So if I wanted to FOIA and find out who they met with and what the topics of their conversation were, I would not be able to get that information. I'll tell you what I also am not 100% confident in. I just want you to keep this, I want you to keep this in mind. So remember that I just said $664,222, right? For direct contact. But now I want to show you something else. Did you all know that there's a lobbying disclosure website that you can go to? Right, exactly. COVID hit halfway through that fiscal year and they kept on spending. You got it. And I'm going to show you exactly how they kept on spending. And I have it all written down in little notes, and I'm going to show you just a brief little video. This video is just so that you can see where I got the information. And then I'm going to take this down and I'm going to give you the information. Okay. So you can go to the United States lobbying disclosure website. See this? And you can type in whatever client name or whatever lobbying name you want to look for. So in this case, I looked up Ballad Health. See right here? I looked up Ballad Health and 39 reports came through that matched. And they dated all the way back to 2015, which we'll talk about in just a second. Okay. But I just wanted you to see where I got this information from. Now I want to show you all something though. In 2021, while Ballad is crying broke, while Ballad is crying, oh my gosh, it's unsustainable to keep nurses paid. You should cap nursing pay and all of that stuff, right? I want you to know that in 2021, their lobbyists were Baker Donaldson, the law firm, who I'm a little familiar with. And they paid Baker Donaldson $80,000 for the third quarter, $80,000 for the second quarter, $50,000 for the first quarter, and $80,000 for the fourth quarter. Okay, so first quarter 2021, they paid Baker Donaldson $50,000 for lobbying. In second, third, and fourth quarter, they paid 80 grand each quarter. So you do the math. That's $290,000 in lobbying paid to Baker Donaldson on behalf of Ballad Health in 2021. They also, that's not their only lobbying firm though. They also had in 2021 another lobbying firm called Frogel Clark. And they paid them $50,000 each quarter in 2021 as well, for a total of $200,000 for them combined together, almost $500,000 in lobbying in 2021. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. Almost $500,000 in 2021 between those two lobbying firms. Let me show you really quickly. As I scroll down through here, I want to see right here, 2021. Do you see these numbers that I just gave you? So first quarter for Baker Donaldson, 50,000. Second quarter for Baker Donaldson, 80,000. Third quarter, 80,000. Fourth quarter, 80,000, right? And then right underneath that is, oh, Teresa, I got that coming up next for you, baby. I got that coming up next for you. Teresa said it'd be interesting to see how much they paid Baker D the months we were out protesting. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting what happened while we were protesting. I'm going to show you that in just a second. But so in 2021, this is all the money that was still going out the door. $500,000 in lobbying. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, folks. I want to show you something. I decided to go back and look, well, what about Mountain States Health Alliance? And then I did Wellmont, and something really interesting came up. Let me show you. So Mountain States Health Alliance came up, and look, it's filed. They began lobbying. I want to pause right here. See the registration is with Asset and Equity Corporation. And it started, the filing year was 2014, but they didn't register until August 31st of 2015. So they filed for 2014 a year later in 2015 retroactively. Do y'all see that? See the filing year says 2014, 2015, 2015, then 2014, and these are amendments. Do you see that? So they had to go back and file these lobbying disclosures a year after they actually did the lobbying for Mountain States Health Alliance. And it's in 2015. Well, do y'all remember what was happening in 2015? They were trying to get a COPA law passed. Do y'all remember? Well, guess who else had the same thing happen? I want to show you. So then I went and did Wellmont. Y'all see how I'm showing y'all? And look right here, Wellmont Health System. Look at that. They registered with the same daggone lobbying company, the same date, and they had to amend theirs as well. So I want y'all to understand that these are two competing healthcare systems sharing the same or using, I won't say sharing, but using the same lobbying firm and registering them on the same date, retroactively filing their reports at the same time while they're getting COPA legislation done. So because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert in lobbying or antitrust issues, I sent this information to the FTC today. And I said, I have a question for you. If two companies that were competitors with each other, if they hired the same lobbying firm, and in order for that lobbying firm to do their job, they had to have proprietary information, whether that's contracts, pricing, or whatever, and they were lobbying for healthcare legislation at the time. and they were sharing competitive information, maybe through this lobbyist, who knows, right? I mean, what do we know? Was there a confidentiality agreement with Asset and Equity Corporation that they would not share proprietary information that belonged to Wellmont with Misha, or with Misha with Wellmont? Or is it possible that these two healthcare systems were using the same lobbying firm to circumvent antitrust conversations? So I sent links to all of this, asking these questions to the FTC today. Right. Well, and here's the thing, it can't be a coincidence. You want to know why? Not only did they use the same firm, but they were registered on the same exact date. Their 2014 filings were amended on the same dates within minutes of each other. Within minutes of each other. Y'all see that, right? August 31st, both of them were registered. Mountain States and Wellmont's were registered on that day. Both of them had their 2014 filings amended on September 10th, 2015, within 10 to 15 minutes of each other. And just to be clear, I was like, okay, well, maybe a lot of healthcare companies use the same lobbyists, right? Maybe it's because they're same industry. So I looked, and I'll tell you, I looked up 3 big companies today. I looked up AT&T and Verizon. And here's what I can tell you. They do not share the same lobbyists. AT&T uses Adams and Reese. Verizon has different groups, but they use Alston and Bird, ACG, Birch, Horton, and Brittner, but they do not use the same lobbyists. I also looked up Ford Motor Company and General Motors. Ford Motor Company uses Alpine Group Partners as their lobbyists. General Motors uses Ballard Partners, BKSH and Associates, CGC, and they do not use the same lobbying firms. I even looked up McDonald's and Burger King, y'all. Guess what? They don't use the same lobbyists either. It was a good day's work. Because here's my thing. In 2014, there was no COPA. In 2014 and 2015, there was no antitrust protection. There was no state oversight. And here's the thing. Antitrust doesn't apply when you're petitioning the government unless you are also not, if you're not using your lobbying firm just to petition the government, but if you're using your lobbying firm to talk to each other, to share competitive information, to share proprietary information, to share what would normally be considered antitrust violations, it would be the same thing. Do y'all remember that little bitty old lawsuit against Ballad Health about the interlocking directorates, where you had multiple board members from both companies sitting from ETSU and Ballad Health sitting on the board of directors? And what was to say while they were in each other's meetings, hearing proprietary information, what would keep them from sharing that information? It would be the same thing here. What would keep this lobbying firm from sharing this information? Well, let me just say this, Stephanie. Here's what I can promise you. Whether Alan himself is watching or not, I don't know. What I do know is that someone is watching from Ballad, or somebody who's being paid by Ballad is watching. I have since been told from a new whistleblower last week that, and I had heard rumors, but this person said, yeah, that's not a rumor, that actually happened, that in fact they had hired an agency to watch my lives, that there were people that were actually, whose duty it was to transcribe my live broadcasts. Interesting, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But here we go. So I want to keep talking, and I want to go back to 2019 for just a minute, because something I found was very interesting. So I want you to listen to this. So in 2019, the Frog Clark firm was still lobbying for Ballad Health, right? They were being paid $50,000 per quarter in 2019 to do the same thing like they were in 2021, right? But listen to this. In the third quarter of 2019, a new lobbying firm is brought on for Ballad Health. And it's a company by the name of Ballard Partners. And when you look them up, when you look this up, it actually says, let me go back. It actually says, let me pull it up. Let me see if I can show you. Well, there it is. Boom. So you see right here where it says Ballard Partners, and then it says the client is Baker Donaldson on behalf of Ballad Health. Here's what's interesting. They were brought on August 26, 2019. Does anyone know what that date was? Does anyone know? Hold on a second. Well, no, we didn't look at this. We knew that they had hired Ballard Partners, but let me just say this. August 28th, 2019, August 28th, 2019 is when we had our big community forum at the Renaissance Center in Kingsport. The 26th, 27th, and 28th is also when Tara Banow from Modern Healthcare came to town to interview us. That is also when she interviewed Alan Levine and Lisa Carter and a bunch of other folks. That's when she interviewed neurosurgeon Ken Smith and former trauma surgeon. Well, he's still a trauma surgeon, but former Holston Medical Trauma Center. Gosh, his name just went right out of my head. Keeley, Dr. Keeley. So on August the 28th, 2019, 2 days before our big community forum, Baker Donaldson hired Ballard Partners on behalf of Ballad Health. If you guys remember, this is also when this private eye had been hired to follow me around, to come down at camp and harass me and to quote unquote serve me with papers. This is also when Baker Donaldson was sending me cease and desist letters threatening to sue me, saying that I was giving out misinformation with Ballad Health, which, by the way, they never sued me. I wonder why that is. Maybe because I wasn't lying, right? But here's what's interesting. So the third quarter is when they brought in Ballard Partners, when we were in the middle of our protest, and they started out paying them $50,000 in the third quarter, right? Fourth quarter, 80 grand. That was an extra $30,000. I wonder what the hell. So, I mean, I cannot say that Ballard Partners and Baker Donaldson came up with these brilliant ideas. But if you remember, during this time, yeah, Kathy, I have them too, so hold on to them, please. If you remember, this is also when the city was coming up with its new ordinance. Remember, this is when the conversation started coming up and there were emails between Miles Burdine, Bob Feathers, Kingsport Mayor Pat Schull, and the city manager, Chris McCart, specifically targeting our protest because it specifically mentioned Ravine Road, which is where we were located. Do y'all remember this? And then here's what I found to be super interesting, because maybe it was a coinky-dink, but we left Holston Valley Medical Center. We packed up our peaceful protest camp on January 13th, 2020. Well, look, you guys, I just want to show y'all that the first quarter of 2020, Ballard Partners terminated their lobbying contract with Baker Donaldson on behalf of Ballad Health. But in the course of those months from August 26, 2019 until the first quarter of 2020, Ballad Health gave Ballard Partners a total of $180,000. Now, let me just throw this at you guys. Do you remember how Ballard and a bunch of people, were spreading this information that somehow or another I was a paid protester? Do you remember that I was being paid to protest? If they truly believed that to be the case, if Ballad Health really believed that I was a paid protester, do you think they would have paid a lobbying firm $180,000 instead of just offering it to me to go away? I mean, if they believed I was motivated by money.
When I posted to go back to the unicorn profile, wait, the unicorn profile.
Yeah, the unicorn profile. What about it? Let Bubby do it. Tell Bubby what you want to watch. He knows how to fix it. I'm almost finished with my broadcast. No, ma'am, I have to finish.
I just want you to put on.
Bubby knows how to put it on. Look, there's the unicorn. Tell Bubby to take it to Prime and put the unicorn profile on. Y'all know I'm on tutu duty. Right, Melanie. If they believed I was really being paid to protest, does it not seem like you would have offered me $180,000 to go away instead of paying a lobbying firm? Unless you knew I wasn't being paid and you knew I wouldn't be bought. Do you want to know what makes it so easy to say what I say all the time? Because your story never changes when it's the truth. My story has always been, my grandbaby was born at Holston Valley Medical Center's NICU. Nurses reached out to me when they heard you were going to close it. They said they didn't know anybody else. They thought me able to do something. And I gave it everything I had for that reason. Story's never changed. Story won't change when it's the truth. I want to say this to you all. If you have had an experience at Ballad Health and you would like to share that with me, this is the link where you can do that. If you do thisisdanny.com/share-your-story, you can hold on, and I'm going to put it in the comments as well. Here's all I'm going to ask is that you give me actual factual details, right? I want you to it can't just be, I need you to be concise, and I need you to really I really want you to think about things that are serious medical issues or quality issues or standards of care issues, things like that. Okay. In addition, I want to stop for just a second. If you remember in the beginning, when I first started doing the advocacy work, I used to put up this little advocacy page and said, hey, if you want to support what we're doing, you can send some money to PayPal. And of course, they spread that rumor that, I was using it to make tons of money, right? Which everybody at the protest already knows. During that time, I lost pretty much everything that I had. My car got repossessed and whatever, because I just wasn't working. I was living and eating and breathing this damn protest and ballad, because I knew that we had a short window of time to be as effective as we possibly could. So I gave it everything that I had. And, but I didn't want people to think that I was doing it for money. So I took that down. Dumb me. I let what they said bother me. I did. So here's what I will say to you. I do art Dominic Ezra, can you come here for a second? And I also am a certified life coach, like for real, and I'm pretty good at it too. But I believe that we all have divine wisdom inside of us. I believe that getting connected to our own inner wisdom and to the creator is a benefit to all of us. Can you open that door right there, baby, and hand me some of my paintings? You'll see them right there at the bottom. I have created a meditation and mindfulness card deck. I did all this artwork while I was sitting outside Holston Valley Medical Center. And there's great little pieces of wisdom on these. And there's also coaching techniques in the guidebook that come with it. Okay. Bring those 4 or 5 at the bottom. If you could use a practical tool to help you kind of with your daily guidance and your daily connection in life, and you would also like to support what I do, right? You can simply go to my Etsy store. Careful, don't squeeze them. You can go to my Etsy store and you can buy a Connect deck. That is one way that you can support. Okay. It's fine. I'll fix it. The other thing is I'll show you a couple of pieces of art that I'm selling currently. This is my full moon and sunflowers. I have 2 moons and sunflower pieces right now. This is the smaller of the 2, right? The first one was 16 by 20. This one's 12 by 16. And then I'm going to show you 2 other pieces, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Okay. This is my cheetah that I just most recently did. This is my hawk in front of the full moon. And that is my, what is this? My lotus flowers, right? And my moon. So these are ways that you can get something in return. You can buy art from me, which that also helps with my PTSD, right? My painting and my drawings help me with that. Because doing the protest certainly did not help with that. And, because I got to eat. And one of the things that I've promised myself in going back down this journey is that I won't lose myself and I won't lose everything again, trying to take on the powers that be. I want to speak truth to power. And I want to hold people accountable, and I want to save access to healthcare, and I want to right the wrongs that have been done, and I want to expose political and corporate corruption. I want to do those things, and I want to not lose my whole life again. And hopefully that makes sense to people. I think it's important that things like this, what I've talked about tonight, come to light. I think it's important that you all know that, and let me finish up by saying this. Let me go back to this Form 990 real quick. Do y'all remember this Form 990 right here where it said 664,222,000 was spent with direct contact? I don't know if that's in addition to the money that was spent to the lobbying firms, because these numbers don't match up, right? So I did the numbers for between Ballard Partners and Frobe Clark from the 3rd quarter of 2019 through the 2nd quarter of 2020. The money paid to those 2 lobbying firms totaled $380,000. Well, that doesn't equal the 664,222, does it? So this is my question, does this $664,222, does that include the 380 plus some other stuff from somewhere? Or is this 664,000 direct contact from their government relations department, like Andy Hall, right? Is it that type of money in addition to the money paid to lobbying firms? Because if so, that means, y'all do the math, 380,000 plus 660,000, that's over $1 million. The same year that they closed the NICU to save $1 million, that would mean $1 million was spent on lobbying, while $3.3 million was spent in bonuses to their executives. I don't know about you all, but that is not exemplary healthcare. That is not putting people first. That is most definitely putting bills, legislative bills, and bonuses before babies. And that, my friends, appears to be Ballad Health. That's what it appears to be. And to me, that's just not right. To me, it's just not right. So again, hopefully this was informative. I gave you the link to share your story with me. I will tell you that I do have a pretty big announcement coming up in the next week or so. And I'm going to ask for your support when I share it with you, because I want to do things that are good. And I believe that we can do things that are good. And I believe that we can make people be held accountable for the things they do and give a space for us to make things right and grow together. I don't want all the hospitals and the healthcare system there to fail. I want it to do what's right by the people and its staff. I want them to stop managing from the top down and getting rid of nurses or topping out pay, and then complain about having to hire travel nurses, and then complain about their pay while you're giving $3.3 million bonuses to your execs and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in lobbying firms. And you're a medical monopoly. What are you lobbying for? Dear God, you already have everything in the region. So anyway, oh, and just in case, let me just give y'all this little tick for just a second. So if you look up Ballard Partners, the lobbying firm that they brought in during our protest, they did a lot of work for Trump and so forth and so on. So listen at this. There was an article about Ballard Partners in which they were called the most powerful lobbying firm in Trump's Washington, D.C., in Trump's D.C. So listen, for everybody who says we weren't effective or we weren't doing anything and we didn't matter, we mattered enough that they brought in one of the best. They brought in what was called the most powerful lobbying firm in D.C. for little old us. We did good, and we're not done. We did good, and we're not done. So, we kept the NICU open longer than they intended. Bristol is still a level 2 trauma center when it was supposed to be downgraded in July of 2019 or 2020, right? No, 2019, July of 2019. We did good things. They did worse things, but we did good things. Well, Ethan, I won't say all for us, but all I know is the timing is suspect, right? I won't say that they brought in Ballard Partners just for us, but here's what I know. They registered with them 2 days before our big community forum when Modern Healthcare was there, and they terminated their agreement with them the first quarter of 2020 when we packed up the daggone camp and left. So okay, that's all I've got. If you are interested in any art or even a commission custom piece for yourself, hit me up and let me know. Remember that you can support my Connect deck, which I promise you is going to be more beneficial to you than it is to me, over at my Etsy store, Intrinsic Connections. That's it, folks. That's all I've got for you tonight. I hope that this was informative, and I will see you all Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be amazing, be light, be love. Peace.